Hi guys, it's Mr. Turbeville here, and today I want to talk to you about dividing polynomials using long division. Okay, um, need some long division because we can't factor just everything and solve it. So there's lots of other reasons for it. But this video is primarily just walking you through how the process works. Okay, um, another video, another time we talk about all the other details. This is just primarily walking through several examples and how the process works for long division. Um, but before we go any further, we're going to take note of long division with polynomials is just like long division that you used to do in fourth and fifth grade. Same process exactly, as a matter of fact. So let's review some terms and such using numbers first. So let's kind of get a review because it's been a while probably since you've done long division. You've done everything on the calculator, right? So let's do a little bit of review on that first to get familiar because all the structure of it is still exactly the same. There isn't any difference at all as far as that's concerned. And so first thing we have here, we got to remember, so the answer to a division problem is the quotient, right? And then what are you going to do it? You're going to have your divisor. That's what you're dividing by. And then the thing underneath here, that's the dividend. And if it doesn't come out even, you have a remainder, okay? There's your remainder. And I think we can agree that if I do 12 times 23, and then I add 1 to it, that should be 277, right? Okay. Well, the way we got talking about here, people get overwhelmed by just a little bit. Let's just remember, okay, each spot has its name, okay? And when we do long division with polynomials, we've got a couple of different ways we like to write the answer, express the answer. And one of the ways is this. We're going to put the dividend, so whatever is here, whether that's a number or a big long expression, over the divisor, whatever is there, equals the thing up here plus the remainder over the divisor, okay? And here's our example, in this case right here. It's important to kind of get this underneath in your head because what about decimals? Well, what would you do if you were going to do it to decimal? You would do 1 divided by 12 and you would keep going. So you're going to add on the rest of the decimal, which is 1 over 12. That's what the decimal would be if you were going to go to decimals. Okay. So what we find here is whatever is the divisor, that's what goes over here as well. So that's one way we like to express the answer. And then the other way is just what I just said before. You take your divisor and your quotient, that'd be the 12 and the 23, and it says multiply them and then add the remainder, just the plain old 1, and that should get you back what you started with over here. And so this is just a review of the structure of long division in all the different pieces and parts, okay? Now let's go back and just see how the process, okay? Let's do a little bit of review of the process. So the first thing we did, we said 27. We see, because we didn't do the whole thing, did we? We just basically looked at 27 and 12. How many times does 12 go into 27? Well, so 2 times that is 24. Can we go any bigger? No. So that's why we chose 2. And then we did 2 times 12. We got 24. Subtracted, and we got a 3, right? That's what we got. So then what did we do next? We said, all right, we got 37. 37 and 12. Well, 3 times 12 is 36, and that's as much as I can give. Or you could say 37 divided by 12 is 3 point something something, right? We don't really care. We just put the 3 there, subtract off, and get a nice remainder. So that's just a quick refresher on that. Let's look at a couple more examples here. But before we do that, we almost forgot. Would you say that 12 is a factor of 277? The answer would be no, because it has a remainder of 1. And for it to be a factor, it has to come out to be 0. Okay. All right. So let's go on to our next piece here. All right. Let me where can I stick myself here? There we go. I think it's a good spot. So we have 2 here. We got the divisor on both of these is 131, right? But we have 2 different large numbers they're dividends, and they both have 32 on the top, but we have different results. And so when we take 4,235 and divide it by 131, we get 32 with the remainder of 43. so that we can say that 131 is not a factor of that 4,235. It's not a factor because it doesn't come out even. Okay, that doesn't mean we can't do something with it, but it's not an even factor. Okay, but over here we say, so 4,192, however, we can divide it by 131 to come out to be 32 nice and even. Okay, so that is a factor because it comes out with no remainder. And we see here how the different, just like we just talked about a while ago, you got the dividend divided by over the divisor equal to, and then if you just go straight quotient and then the remainder, but this is how you actually run the remainder, right? You're actually going to write that, and so you got your quotient plus the remainder over the divisor. That'd be the way you would write those pieces. Okay, so again, that's all format and placement. Let's go through the process. Now, this is why daddy, mother, sister, and brother are hanging out up here, okay? That's why they are there. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go through the same process every time. And daddy is supposed to remind us, okay? Where daddy reminds us that we're going to start by dividing. So daddy reminds us to divide, okay? So that'll be the first thing we do. So what did they do? They said 42 divided by 13, and that equals 3 point, I don't care, something or another. And so because we did that, that's how we know to put a 3 up there. So that's the divide part. Okay, the next part is multiply, right? The next part is multiply. That's what mother stands for multiply. Okay, so what we're going to do, you said 3 times that whole thing, 131, not just the 1, not just the 3, not just the other one, the whole thing. And that's important when we're talking about binomials and trinomials. It's the whole thing. So we did that and we got 393. 393. So that brings us to sister. Sister means subtract. Okay, sister means subtract. So we put that subtraction symbol there. We did 423 minus 393 and got us a 30. And then that brings us to brother. And brother means bring down. Bring down. So daddy, mother, sister, brother. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. And then just keep repeating that process. So that's the bring down the 5. And then they start it all over again. Back to divide. So 30 divided by 13. You notice I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just doing the front piece of it to make it easier to work with. Just doing the front piece, not the whole thing. So when we do 30 divided by 13, we see that is 2 point, don't care, just the 2. So that's how we know to put the 2 there. People say, well, how do you know put the 2? That's how you know, is the divide part. It's how you know. And so whatever that it goes, that's how you put right there. That's how you know. Okay, and if you don't remember it, look at the video, look at your notes until you do. Okay, that's just look it up. That's not rocket science. That's just do what it says. All right, and so then the next step says to multiply. So 2 times 131 is 262. The next step is sister, which is subtract. So we subtract and we get 43. Okay, and then we noticed, hey, 131 can't go into 43. We are done. There's nothing left to bring down. We are done. And then it's all, just how are you going to express the answer? And that really depends on how the instructions tell you to do so. Okay, do they want it expressed in this fashion, or do they want it expressed in this fashion? You just do whatever the instructions are telling you to do. So okay, so we refreshed our memory on the terminology and the different pieces, and now we've gone back through a couple of times this process of daddy, mother, sister, brother, and this divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. And it will continue to be the exact same process through every single problem. Okay, All right, so what I've done here for this example is we've copied over this daddy, mother, sister, brother process again because it's going to be exactly the same process. Something before we get started I wanted to note is that you get a 0x. Now that's probably not how it was written originally. You don't normally write that in your problem, but when you set it up for your division, you need to put a 0 there. Okay, and just give you an example of how important a 0 is. If you were trying to write 101 and you didn't put the 0, you know what you'd have? 11, not 101. So the placeholder really does matter. So use the placeholder, okay, to help you keep everything lined up because we always got to add and subtract like terms, okay? All right, so here we go. So first step is divide. So we're going to take 3x to the third and divide it by x because that's, so we're going to take this first piece and this first piece here. So which gives me 3x squared. So I'm going to go over the x squared term, put 3x. So that's my divide. Daddy, divide. Okay. Next is mother, multiply. So let's multiply 3x times everything here. So 3x squared times x is 3x to the third. 3x squared times negative 2. Well, that's negative 6x squared. See, keeping my like terms lined up. Next step is sister, which is subtract. And I encourage you to always do this because the way the books usually write it is kind of like this. And I think it's not accurate, but I think it's a bad idea because now your job is to think, okay, negative here and then minus negative is really plus. And yes, you can do that, but that's a place that people make a lot of errors. So I suggest not to do it that way. I suggest let's go ahead and do the distribution property and that which changes the signs. So that goes from positive 3 to negative 3 and from negative 6 to positive 6. That's what subtraction does. It changes all that. Okay. So now that we've got that written in, let's do the subtraction. So this should cancel. Double check that. You take 4 and 6, make 10x squared. So there's our subtraction. Now we're ready for brother, which is bring down. How much do you bring down? Well, at least bring down the next term. You can always bring down everything if you'd like. It's not going to hurt to bring down everything. All right. So we're ready to start over? Daddy, divide. Okay. So we're going to take the first term because now we're not coming back up here. No, because that stuff's over with, right? This is all we have now. That's all there is. The rest of it's gone. This is all we have. So we're going to take 10x squared divided by x again because it's always this guy here. We'll put a highlight on that so we remind ourselves that this is the key term all the way there. And so 10x squared divided by x gives me 10x. So I line this guy up right here, positive 10x. Okay. So that's my divide. Now I'm ready for mother multiply. So that's going to be 10x squared. 10x times negative 2, that's going to give me negative 20x. Then, okay, so there's our multiply stage. Now we're ready for sister, subtract, and again, so let's go through and change all of our signs. And it's good to do it in a different color so you can see how you changed the negative has changed all of my signs. So this guy does cancel. Now bring down 0 plus 20 is 20x plus 10. Okay, and then this guy here is I'm ready to divide again. So 20x divided by x leaves me with 20. So that's where I'm going to put me another 20 up here. There you go. And so that was our divide. So now we're ready to multiply. 20 times x is 20x. 20 times negative 2 is negative 40. Now subtract. So I'm going to change my signs here. This does cancel. And this guy gives me 50. All right. Now, depends on how you want to write your answer, but I'm going to write it like this. It's going to take me a second, so be patient. So we're going to say if you take 3x to the third plus 4x squared plus 10. So you don't have to put the 0 now. Divided by x minus 2. You're going to get 3x squared plus 10x plus 20 plus 50 over the divisor, x minus 2. And that is how you can write that answer. Okay? Got a few more examples here. We get a little bit more complicated as we go. Got 4 total here that are like this, and I would suggest at least 3 of these you watch real closely. And if this is a one of those ed puzzle things, that means you have to watch the whole thing, of course, right? But let's get started. Let's go back to our process here. It says we're going to daddy divide. So we're going to take 4x to the third divided by x squared. Leaves me with 4x. So I'll put my 4x up here. So that's my daddy divide. Now we do our mother multiply. 4x times 4x squared is 4x cubed plus 12x squared plus 4x. Okay, I'll try to speed this process up for you just a little bit. Now we do subtract, change all those signs, right? These guys are going to cancel. If I go too fast, you can always rewind. So it gives me negative 10x squared, and then negative x, and then bring down my 5. Okay, starting over now. Negative 10x squared divided by x squared leaves me with negative 10. So negative 10 it is. So there's our daddy divide. Now mother multiply. Negative 10 times all 3 of those. So negative 10x squared, and then negative 30x, and then negative 10. Now for subtraction. So we're not just subtracting the first thing, we're subtracting the whole thing. And that's going to end up changing all of my signs in the process. Okay. Can't tell you enough how much I suggest using a different color pencil. So that's going to cancel. That leaves me with 29x plus 15. And we're out of space, can't go any further. So this time, we're going to write it a little differently, okay? I'm going to say the dividend is equal to the divisor and the quotient so the divisor times the quotient, so you'd have to extended FOIL or distributed property simplify, and then add on the remainder piece here, and you would get back what you started. Okay, so if I multiplied all that out and simplified it, and then combined like terms with 29x and 15, I should get back what I started with. Okay, so that is another format. Just which one's the best depends on the instructions or your situation. So I wouldn't say one's best over the other. Okay. All right. Here's another one. This is interesting. Here's how the original problem looked like. We got this 4th degree polynomial, and it's missing the x to the first power. And this one is divided by x squared plus 16. It's missing the x to the first power. So you see here in green, I added in the missing terms. Sometimes it's not going to be a big deal, but sometimes it is a big deal. So always want to take care of that just in case. So let's go process. Daddy divide, mother multiply, sister subtract, brother bring down. So here we go. 9x to the 4th divided by x squared. 9x squared. There we go. So 9x squared. Okay, now we're going to multiply these guys out. That's what mother multiply is all about. So we got this 9x to the 4th. And then 0 times 9x to the square, right? So that's going to give me a 0x to the 3. And then 16 times 9x squared. So 16 times 9. So I'm going to be lazy here. 16 times 9, 144. So that's going to be 144x squared. So that's mother multiply. And now we're ready for sister subtract, which goes through and changes all my signs. And then let's make this thing happen. So this is going to cancel. That's just going to be, say, x to the third. And now this is going to be a negative 133x squared plus 0x. I'm just going to go ahead and bring down the whole thing. It doesn't hurt me to bring all of it down. I'm not going to use all of it yet, but that's okay. All right, start over. We're ready to do some daddy divide. X cubed divided by x squared leaves me with x. So let's put a nice x up here. Multiply all that by x, so you're going to get yourself a nice x cubed, 0x squared, and then plus 16x. Get real good, you can skip some of the zero stuff, but now here's our subtraction. Okay, so these guys cancel. And that brings me to negative 133x squared minus 16x minus 4. Okay. All right. We got one more step here to go. We got negative 133x squared divided by x squared again. That leaves me with just negative 133. So minus 133. So we get multiply negative 133x squared well, that's just minus 0x, and then we got negative, oh goodness gracious, that's a really big number. Okay, so that's 16 times negative 133, okay, minus 2128. That's, oh well, there you go. Now ready for subtract. Change my signs here. Okay, these do cancel. Got me some nice negative 16x. And then some positive 2,124. Okay, and so is our divisor, our dividend, our quotient, and a remainder. And how you express it from there really depends on what your situation or your instructions are. I'm not going to take the time to rewrite it. You can go back and look at the other two examples for that. So that's really the procedure for dividing polynomials using long division. I'm going to do one more example, kind of a bonus. Kind of like after the credits, an extra bonus scene. So we're going to do one more example for that. Okay, I'm going to try to slide through this as quickly as possible, though, because you just really need to be seeing multiple problems for getting more examples. I think it's the real issue. So, and divide 6x to the fourth divided by x squared, just our side work here, 6x squared. And notice we got the 0x squared here. You don't always have to put zeros in things, but we do a lot of that in our examples, so you get familiar with it. Multiply 6x to the fourth, 12x to the third, negative 30x squared. So that's our multiply. Now we're ready for sister subtract, which is going to make us subtract everything. So a double negative would end up being plus, right? This cancels out. That brings me to negative 7x cubed plus 30x squared plus 2 x plus 8. Bringing those guys down. Okay, do some daddy divide here. So negative 7x to the third over x squared. Because again, we are doing, well, whatever that's all about. That guy there, right? All that so I could do that little highlight. Oh well. So that's negative 7x. So negative 7x here. Now we're ready for some mother multiply. So negative 7x to the third. Negative 14x squared. And positive 35x. Ready for sister subtract. So minus negative is plus, minus negative is plus. Plus and negative is just there, that. So we got some canceling here. Clean this guy up some. As soon as my little circle stops. So I think that's going to be 44 x squared. Got square there. And then negative 33x. Going to bring down my 8. Okay, I think we got one more step in us here. So we got a 44x squared over x squared. Leaves me with just 44. So plus 44. Okay, that's now ready for mother multiply. So 44x squared plus 88x. Okay. And then, okay. Negative 5 times 44. Negative 220. Okay. Are you ready to do some subtraction? Here we go. We got some subtraction. Okay, so these guys cancel out. So that's 1 carry 1, 121. Yes, confirm that. X, and then that combines to be 228. And again, there's a couple of different ways you can write your answer. But the quotient here would be 6x squared minus 7x plus 44. And that makes this divisor not a factor because it did not come out even. Okay, kind of long, but just give you an opportunity to see several examples. There's lots of other examples on YouTube. I don't know that this was, well, I know this was not any better than those probably, but sometimes you like to see your teachers. So here you go. Here's some examples. Hope it's helpful. Let me know what I can do for you.